Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, former NWA Mid-Atlantic champion, former GWF television champion, former WWF superstar, Mr. Sam Houston. Sam Houston, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Such an honor to be here. I'm having a good time. Thanks.
So, what's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
Well, let's see. I'm married to the loveliest woman in the world, the love of my life. Um, I've never been happier. The last 3 years have been the happiest, I guess, in my life. I've got 15 years almost on August the 29th. Have 15 years drink. I don't drink alcohol anymore. Gosh, I can do what I want when I want. I'm at peace with myself. Just I'm having a blast.
Anything wrestling related going on anymore? Are you doing
Oh
anything
yeah,
more
I'm
as far?
still in the ring. I just wrestled at Ivan Koloff's memorial deal the other couple last month, 2 months ago, and then I just wrestled in Mountain City, Tennessee, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. I held a seminar there, and a lot of guys got a lot of good talent, got a lot of good information. Ronnie Garvin even came down, so it was really cool. But yeah, I'm still in the ring. I don't wrestle nowhere near as much. I mean, used to I was wrestling 9 times a week, but now it's just once here and there. Like independent stuff, things that I feel strongly towards.
Nice. Still doing it. Still kicking ass and taking names. I love it.
Yes, sir. And then my daughter's in the profession as well, and my son-in-law. So I keep my ear to the ground, and because I want to be supportive of everything. I mean, a parent always wishes their kid hadn't gone into it, but in a way, I'm glad she followed our footsteps, and maybe she'll get in, make her money, and get out.
Now, speaking of following in the footsteps, did your dad always want you to be? Because obviously Grizzly, he's in the business, wrestler. Did he want you to be in the business, or he didn't want you in the business?
No, no, no. I'd had my tonsils taken out the year. Okay, gosh, all my life has been on the road. I mean, at 2 weeks old, my mom took me to the drive-in movie, and we saw a Connie Stevens movie, Irma LaDouche or something. So after that outing, then it was okay for me to go to the arenas at night. Dad figured. So we were always on the road. And I've been after mom and dad split up. I was without adult supervision since the time I was about 12. So uh, it's just like being one of the boys. Anyway, uh, all my life I had geared for wrestling. When I was in second grade, I went to an amateur wrestling school or summer camp there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Well, a lot of the wrestlers that wrestled in Mid South were amateur wrestlers too. Jim Shields, Danny Hodge, Herb Calvert. You had all these guys, and they were interested. So they came to the meet, one Saturday morning, and Coach Barrett Murphy sees all these professionals and all these NCAA athletes and AAU champions, and he's a teacher at a high school, and he figures, the best way to help benefit his boys is get some knowledge, and he allowed me to work out with Catholic High, the high school guys, some, and I grew up, knowing that I was going to be a wrestler. Then when I was 17, I went into the hospital. I had my tonsils taken out, and the anesthesiologist punctured the back of my windpipe, my pharynx, and I flatlined, and then for 2 minutes, and then I was in a coma for 2 weeks. It was really wild. I didn't eat food that year from April the 1st to August the 13th. I went from
Wow.
230 pounds to 128 pounds. After that, my dad told me, he said, well, I gained my weight back. I worked at gas stations, gained my weight back and everything else. And then I went and I got in the ring with George Weingroff. And George, I mean, he really put me through the ropes, really stretched me good that first time. And I came back the second time. And that second time, we wrestled, and he come to my dad. He went to my dad and he said, he's ready. And my dad told me, he said, this business is not for you. And he told me I wasn't going to do it. Well, I had talked to Dusty, and Dusty said, oh, yeah, come on down to Florida. And I was like, okay. So I go down to Florida, and I didn't know until just recently that J.J. Dillon had a lot to do with it, because my dad had called all the promoters and everything and told them not to book me. And JJ had told me at the CACs last year or 2 years ago, he said that he had told Dusty, he said, the kid's always here. He's got his stuff. Give him a shot. So that was Sam Houston was born September the 13th, 1983 in Tampa, Florida. Ironically, the same town I was born in. Here's another ironic thing. The night that I was born, or that time that I was born, my dad and Luke Brown, they were the Kentuckians. They were wrestling Nelson Royal and Killer Carl Cox down in Florida those nights. And then, like later on, after I start wrestling, Nelson Royal comes out of retirement and he's my tag team partner. That was kind of cool, you know?
Yeah. What was it like in Florida at that point? Because obviously, '83, Vince hasn't completely taken over yet. I mean, he took over WWF, but he hasn't taken over the world yet. Florida's still pretty hot there in '83 with
Oh,
Dusty.
yes. Florida was great. I loved it, 3 months, and what was great for me, because, when you're young and breaking in, you need that constant work every night. I mean, you need to be on the road and you need to be learning from the old timers. The business today has changed a lot from how it used to be. How it used to be, you get two or three guys in a car, especially for a young guy, and you're wrestling, or even if you don't wrestle, carry your bag and make the trip, because you're going to learn from these old timers. I was so blessed to be able to ride up and down the roads with Johnny Weaver, Sonny Fargo. Down in Florida, I was riding with Mike Davis, Mike Rotundo, Dusty. It was really cool. Hector Guerrero. I mean, a lot of trips I made by myself in Florida and with the fella that did the souvenirs and stuff. But shoot, but you learned on the road. And then there was a lot of ribbon on the road too. You go up, pull off the side of the highway to go use the restroom, pee, and then all of a sudden you're left on the side of the highway, 100 miles from home.
Yeah.
We did that quite a few times.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. Um, Now, as far as like moving on up in the business, like going to Mid Atlantic, how does that actually like happen? How does that occur? Is that JJ giving you kind of like the thumbs up? Is that Dusty taking you with him, or what? Like,
Well,
how
it
did you
was
move up?
kind of funny for me because okay, Dusty had already made the call, I guess, after I'd been there 3 months. Because you want to change your talent. Now, you can't change your top talent, but you can change the faces on the underneath some.
Yep.
It was pretty easy. So Dusty had already called. He had it all worked out, but it was the end of December the 18th, or the December 19th was supposed to be the last day of CWF events until after the New Year. So, but the night before, Dusty had the first annual Orlando Jamboree, starring Boxcar Willie and Dusty and everybody. So it was my job to bring the band and everything, and I brought the band. Well, we had it at the Eddie Graham Sports Arena, and I gotta say, okay, I got fired.
Okay.
Okay, okay. I get there. Dusty hands me a bottle of Jack Daniels. There's beer. I mean, beer, just big barrels of beer everywhere. We're drinking, having a good time. Me and the fiddle player became real good friends. Puddin' Russell was his name. Anyway, so only about 50 people paid, to come see the concert. And so it wasn't that big of a success as a concert. So me, being the wild child that I was, I start dancing all over the place, and I took my pocket knife out and cut the security rope down, and we started grabbing little old ladies up and dancing with them, and drinking and having a good time. And I was up on stage talking to Mike Davis. I said, "Say, baby, this may not be the greatest concert in the world, but it's damn sure gonna be the best party. Look at old dancing Sam." And I just started dancing around again. I went ahead and I started talking to Mike again. And his eyes got real big, and I said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "He's right behind me." And I turned around and Dusty was there, and he goes, "You finished tomorrow night, baby." And I was like, "Oh
Oh,
my God." Then he came back and told me later that I start in Fayetteville on January the 2nd for Crockett. And I made it home. I went home for Christmas break, and that's when my dad pulled me aside and he said, "Well, Sam, he never left home, but I guess he didn't know where it was." And then I knew knew my wrestling name now.
yeah, that's funny. He didn't realize, or maybe you didn't realize he knew you were Sam Houston yet.
Oh yeah, I didn't know it. He said, "Son," he said, I'm the one of the lead matchmakers in the country." He goes, "I'm the he goes, I you got to think what I'm wondering when I see pictures of my own kid being sent to my house, you know." So
Yeah. Yep.
I just wanted to go out and make my own name, and that's what I did. I never tried to make it off anybody's back. I wanted to do it my way because I had seen what happened in Texas with the Von Erichs and how things were pushed on them and stuff before you're ready or anything like that. And oh gosh, I wanted the respect in the dressing room, knowing that those guys knew that I earned my position. I wasn't handed anything, you know. And thank God that my work was good enough to carry me all the places that I've done. Even after WWF, which a lot of people would say would be the pinnacle of your career, and this, that, and the other. I was paralyzed or partially paralyzed twice. But then after that, I hooked up with Charlie Norris, my tag team partner with the Renegades. My career had been over, but he got me back in the ring, helping working out with him, and we toured the world, Jack. We went to Japan 5 times. We went to New Guinea. I almost got eaten by cannibals over there twice. He almost got eaten once, but that's the second time I
Jeez.
almost got eaten. It was a wild thing, you know. My mouth fell.
R.I.P. Charlie Norris, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow, what a friend. My brother. We're getting ready to honor him in July. So I'll be going. Well, I'm going to Madison, Wisconsin this week to meet the oh gosh, what's the best way? An ambassador for the Red Lake Nation this week, and then I'll be going up for a dinner in July and the big powwow there and everything to honor Charlie and stuff. So I really can't wait. And I was inducted into the Red Lake Nation, or I've been a member of it, I guess, since the '90s, and I'm finally being able to go through ceremony. So I'll have my naming in July, and so it's one of the biggest honors and highest things in my life. And I'm so overwhelmed of all the blessings that the Creator gives us. I have really turned my life around, and I'm so thankful. And I'm thankful every day. I say it every day in my prayers. There's nobody greater or no one greater.
When you look at, right, you in the business and your dad finally realizing you're Sam Houston, and as you're really kind of making a name for yourself, what's your relationship all this time with your dad? Like, is it bad? Is it strained? Is it okay? What's the relationship with Grizzly?
I don't know. When I was, I guess it's the same with anybody. When you see each other, it's hey, how you doing? But when you're on the road, you're on the road. It's not that's not first and foremost. And back then, you didn't call each other like it's not like cell phones. If you talk to each other on the phone, you're talking maybe once a week or something.
So you were okay though? Not like Jake and your dad where their relationship was strained. You and your dad had a better relationship?
Well, my dad, I mean, me and my dad were on the road, I guess, from the time I was 13. Well, we lived together from the time I was 12, 13 till I I left home and went to go start wrestling. Now he was on the road all the time, and from the time I was 15 on, I worked for the company too. I set the ring up. I was a gosh, I worked at gas stations and stuff, and took care of the boys' cars, all kind of stuff. But he was always on the road, and I was always home alone. Unless the shop was somewhere close or I was carrying the ring to it.
Who got along with your dad the best out of you, Robin, and Jake? Would it be? Would you say yourself?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, probably because I was always there, or I was easily accessible. If somebody broke down, he'd call the school up and check me out of school, and I got to go run down to Alexandria and fix somebody's car and get them back on the road.
And
You
how
know,
was your relationship with Jake, your brother?
my relationship with Jake was good. You know, gosh, but we never. I guess we were always there for each other, but I guess we never made a public display or anything like that. Uh, we're half brothers, step brothers.
Yeah.
So I got his back. Storming around here today, real bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we keep getting cut off at. You pick them up from the matches. We keep getting cut off at that
Yeah, my
point.
dad would pick somebody up, and then at the matches, I'm a little kid. He'd leave them to watch me because he's back in the dressing room or everything. So they're watching me during the matches, and then on the way home, he'd stop and get himself a bottle of wine, but he'd get me a bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. I drink that and pass out because I got to go to school the next morning. So I get my rest on the road, and I didn't know it, but after I passed out, that's when he'd pull off the road with whoever. So I don't know. I mean, I never saw anything, and then being told this in 2006 is like blowing you away. But it's something that it's out there, so you have to accept it one way or another. Like I said, I didn't see any proof of anything, but then I was out, and I'm not saying that contributed. I'm not blaming that on contributing alcoholism or because that happens. The alcohol, that was me that made that choice to drink for whatever reasons.
So Dark Side was a little bit rough to watch then, for sure. There's a.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but you have to be willing to open up and listen and hear. That's the only way you learn and keep going. Our job in life is to go forward. Our job is to be the best ball player we can. Whatever gets thrown at us, we got to field that ball and get it where it needs to go. And we can't get overwhelmed because it will keep happening to you. So you get this one, boom, take care of that. Then this one's coming in, boom, take care of that. It's a constant thing, and but you can't overcome your obstacles. You can't jump over those hurdles unless you know what those hurdles are.
Now, going back to Mid Atlantic and just talking about that, so you're there for a while. Starcade '85 was that the high point though, as far as Mid Atlantic and your time there? Because Khrushchev for the Mid Atlantic title, but was Starcade like the big one for you as far as Mid Atlantic was concerned?
That was my first big one. But the really big one for Mid Atlantic was the Great American Bash. I pinned superstar Billy Graham in the middle of the ring. Wow! 30,000 people were screaming my name. It was awesome. They carried me out of there. I couldn't believe it. I was scared to death. But yeah, but there was a whole lot of great big ones. Starcade won, the Great American Bash was one when I title over Khrushchev on TV. That was big. That you you have those matches in your career that that no matter what they'll always be big, and they might be in a little bit different way, and it's hard to judge which one's best. I mean, I had a match with Black Bart in Baltimore that people talk about still today. In Philadelphia too, they talk about it still today. You know, but and those end up being some of the greatest matches in your career and some of the greatest
And
times. I mean, like for Vince, I mean, when I worked up there for WWF, Uh, you know, I was in WrestleMania 4 and WrestleMania 5 for the WrestleMania 5. I didn't even realize I was the number one contender for the Intercontinental title. It never really sank in because we were so overworked and on the road, you can't keep up with what's going on.
Very true. How did you get in WWF, by the way? Is that through Jake? Is that why they brought you in?
No, no. Well, it was kind of neat. Well, wasn't really neat. Uh, Gosh, we were in Kansas City, and we did a show in Omaha. Now, Kansas City, everybody, we're starving our butts off, and we did a show in Kansas City, me against Warlord on top, and we did 63 or 68,000. I can't remember. It was over $60,000, and boy, we were all excited because we know we're going to get a good payoff. I mean, we were starving. We'd drive 400 miles for 9 people in the audience because they wouldn't put the advertising out, or it was because Crockett had bought the territory from Geigel, and Kansas City was a rough territory anyway, I guess, to work. A lot of miles and not a lot of fans a lot of time. Uh, but anyway, we did so well. So the next morning, I called the office and I wanted to tell Dusty how great we did, and this, that, and the other. I want to know when we were going to go back because, this pumped new blood into the crew. And he goes, baby, he goes, y'all not going to go back. He said that's prime for this office, you know.
Hmm.
And so they took Omaha away from us. So it was like kind of okay. Then a week later or whatever, I got a payoff, and it was for $75 on top for a $60,000 house. So I called up the office and said, there's been a mistake. And Jimmy told me, he said, no. He said, we're losing a lot of money out there. He said, this is the payoff. I said, well, you got my notice. And uh, gave him my 2 week notice, and I hung up the phone. And they called back and they said, is that for Baby Doll too? I handed her the phone and she said, yep. And we hung up the phone again. Well, I made a call to Watts, and because Bill had wanted me, but I wasn't going to go home until I was ready. I was not going to go wrestle at home until I was wrestling on top other places.
Right.
And I was on top. I was, so I was higher up in the cards, and so I went to work for Watts. And boy, the payoffs, everything just went through the roof again. I was back up making over 5,000 a week and stuff. It was great. And then, gosh, Missing Link got hurt. He hurt his back, so I had to take his place. Then Dark Journey got hurt, so Nicola ended up taking her place. So then Nicola and I were together for a bit. Well, Crockett came in and bought out Watts, and when the buyout happened, Eddie Gilbert called me up. He was the booker, and he asked me if I could come down to TV early that day. So I went down and met him at around 11:30 or so at the Billy Bob's, and he said Crockett bought the territory. He said he's not firing anybody except you and Doll. And I said okay.
Whoa.
So I went on back to the house. I told Nicola, and then I called up to the office and I talked to somebody in talent relations, and they told me to show up at TV on May the 9th, and I got a job, a 2-year contract. It was a rather generic contract because that's not what it was back in the day, but they guaranteed me work. And I knew my work would carry me, and it did. I mean, I don't know if Jake ever secretly behind the scenes gave me the rub. He never did any other time in our career, so um, I don't know if he did or not. But I know it was rough up there. I know I had a blast up there. I mean, you're living on the edge all the time. Uh, I went 93 days without a day off, and that's wrestling anywhere. Well, that's wrestling twice on Saturdays, on double shots on Saturdays and Sundays, And then you had TV tapings on Mondays and Tuesdays, and you might wrestle once, you might wrestle 4 times. And if you were in a dark match, you might have to wrestle five.
A lot of work up there, right? I mean, so many dates and crazy schedule that Vince McMahon and WWF had during that period.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was running 3 major cities a night. You know, he had 3 crews on the road. We were going all over the place. And it was mind boggling. You carried everything in your boogie bag. That's that's your deal. You got your booking sheet, your portfolio full of airline tickets. Then you credit cards and your ID and everything. So you get your rent a car. Well, everything's like was always pushing you on to the next step. I kid people go, "Oh, you went all over the world." Yeah, let me explain to you how this goes. You get up in the morning at 5 o'clock. You got to be at the airport because you're usually on the first flight going to the next destination. They get you on. If you're not on that flight and you don't make the shot because you changed your flight, that's a $5,000 fine. I've seen that happen to a couple of guys. They change their tickets around. Oh, I'll leave at 11. Then that 11 o'clock cancels, and then they don't make it, and they get fined big time. But anyway, so you're on the flight. So you're trying to get your food, your breakfast. You're trying to get your nap in with your sleep because when you get to that town, you got to rent your car. You got to get to the hotel, get checked in, go to the gym, eat. If you're going to hit sunbeds, whatever, come back to the hotel, get ready, go to the event, wrestle your match, shower, get ready, come back to the hotel. Then, if you were a partier, which everybody was back uh, then you go to the hotel bar and you're there till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. You usually close down the bar because that's what you do. That's what wrestlers do. And then start the whole thing up the next, a few hours later.
What tours were you normally on? Like the A, B, C? Like what did you normally work as far as WWF house shows?
Oh shoot, I worked them all. I mean, I was a bunch of times. I mean, I worked a lot on Hogan's cards, on Jake's cards. It, it was kind of like, oh, they just kind of switch everything around. I mean, I wasn't set to work on Hogan's crew all the time. The only time that I was for a few months there. Uh, I wrestled my first time in the Garden, and oh gosh, Andre knocked me out of the battle royal because I was, had his leg, and Jake told me, he said, "Hey, nobody knows you were brothers." He said, "We can get together and win this thing." Ha ha. So he said, "We got to get rid of the Giants." So I go over and get Andre. Well, Andre called me back to his dressing room, or he had Terry Garvin come get me. And I went back there to Andre's dressing room. And he goes, "I've known you since you were a little boy. He goes, I like you. I don't like your brother, though. He's an asshole. From now on, you travel with me." So I ended up traveling with Andre for a few months. That was fun. I was on his deal for a while. Oh, that was hard. And yes, I tried. I would stand in the bar next to him so we could see eye to eye. And his big thing, "Bring my friend Crown Royal and Coke." Oh gosh. But yeah, um, but yeah, I was on everybody's, I guess, deal because I got the opportunity. Me and Warrior Jim Hellwig, when he first started up there, they didn't put him on TV for a long time. We traveled together for I don't know how long it was, maybe a year or so. You know, but yeah, we had a blast. So I was kind of on different stuff.
That's interesting with Andre because it's you got to try to keep up with him, right? Drinking wise, which is
Oh
probably
yeah,
impossible.
ain't no way, ain't no way. Oh God, ain't no way. But I try. I give it the old college try. I never went to college, but I tried.
That is great. Yeah, so the stories of his drinking are uh, not
They're not
underspoken,
exaggerated. Oh
not
gosh, let me
exaggerated.
tell you about the first time I met Andre. Okay, so me and my sister, well, we're all excited because all the press. We used to get to take care of the wrestling programs for Laranger when we were young. 50 cent programs or whatever. So we find out through the programs that Andre's coming. Well, Andre's coming and he's going to be Dad's tag team partner. Now, my dad at the time, was billed at 7 foot or 6'10", whatever. Um, so Andre and Dad are so we had stapled the a program with Andre as the centerfold and the program old programs, and then one with Dad as the centerfold, stapled them back to back with a paint stick in them, and then with a little card that said "World's Tallest Tag Team."
I
Andre,
see.
yeah. So we sold those for like I don't know, a couple bucks at the shows and stuff. Well, Andre was coming over for lunch, and then we're going to hit the road, and I get to go with him. Well, my mom was going to make our favorite dinner, and that was chicken fried steak, rice, and gravy. And boy, when me and Robin got out of school, we rushed home. We got home and we run in the back door. And mom's sitting there. She turns around in the kitchen, just looks at us, and she puts her hands up, like, and had this like, there's nothing left. And we haven't met Andre yet. So mom marches us in the den where Andre's sitting in my dad's recliner and tells him since he ate all the food that he has to buy Robin and I Burger King. So she went. We all went to Burger King and came back. Now Dad and Andre, we're getting ready to go because we're going to Shreveport that night for a TV tape. So, excuse me. Uh, excuse me again. So we're going to go to the TV tape. And what Mom told us that Andre had eaten 22 chicken fried steaks, pieces of chicken fried steak. He cleaned out all the vegetables, ate all the mashed potatoes. I mean, the rice, the gravy, the everything. Just ate everything. That's why he had to buy dinner. So we go to the matches in Lafayette, and it was Shreveport TV, I guess, the next morning. We go to the matches in Lafayette, and after the show, I was sitting in the back seat. Now, Dad had a rule that if he was riding in the car with one of the boys, I was to keep my mouth shut. He didn't like me interrupted while they were talking business, and I found out what Carney was, how to talk Carney because of Ted DiBiase and Dad talking business a little bit later on. But anyway, so we leave the matches, and Dad pulls up at a convenience store and he asks Andre, he goes, "Hey, boss, would you like some beer?" And Andre said, "I'd like two, please."
Hmm.
So Dad goes in the store and he gets his a magnum of wine because we're driving all over Shreveport. And he looks over there and he looks and he goes, "Oh, I'll get him a whole 6-pack." So he got Andre a 6-pack and he come back out to the car. And he sat in the car and he gave him the 6-pack. He said, "You're a big guy. You can drink more than two." And Andre goes, "I meant 2 cases."
Oh, Jesus.
So Andre went in the store and got 2 cases. So it comes back, and Dad got me a bottle of Boone's Farm. So we drive from Lafayette to Alexandria. We get to Alexandria. There was a 7-Eleven that my dad had stopped a couple of robberies at on the outskirts of town. And we always stopped there. Uh, and when we stopped there, Dad got him another Magnum wine. I filled up the car. Andre got another case and a half of beer. I'm the only one who went to the restroom, though. So we're back in the car, and we get about 70 miles north of Alexandria in a little town called Natchitoches, Louisiana. And all of a sudden, the bubblegum lights are behind us. They're all lit up. And I look back. Well, Dad hasn't noticed it. Him and Andre are sitting there talking and laughing and carrying on and having a good time. So I said, "Dad?" And my dad says, "Son, how many times have I told you not to interrupt when we're talking business?" I said, "Yeah, but Dad." And Dad said, "Son, do I need to pull this car over?" And I should have said, "Yeah," but I was like, "Oh, no, if he pulls the car over, I'm getting whooped." No. Okay, so I kept my mouth shut. Well, about 3 or 4 minutes goes by. We're still driving down the road. And Dad hadn't noticed the lights. And I pipe up again. I said, Dad. And Dad told me again. He said, son. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Finally, Andre said, no, my dad said, he goes, boss, he goes, we stopped at that store a while ago. He goes, I didn't go to the bathroom. He said, he goes, I wouldn't, it wouldn't hurt me to pull over and check out the back of one of these signs. And Andre goes, I could pee too. So when they pull over on the side of the road, boy, the police officer jumps out of his car and he comes back there and gosh, he wasn't 6 foot tall. He was a small guy, and he's got the ticket book in his hand and he's writing and writing. He's got writing the license plate, and I'm sitting in the back just looking. Now it takes Dad and Andre a while to get up and straighten up. And that police officer, he's writing away, and then I see when he sees them start getting up, they're about 3/4 of the way, and then they start standing all the way up. And the cop looks at both of them like that, and they were all happy. Oh, 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 oh. And he threw his ticket buck and pen in the air and got back in his car and left.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to run into those two guys, cop or not. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I used to think, people come up to Andre and tell him something stupid like he's big. He's the most recognizable athlete in the world. His last name is the Giant, and you're going to come say something stupid.
I
That's
love
why I
that.
like to point down behind somebody and have them stop and turn around.
Yeah. Oh my God. But
We were at a restaurant. My wife and I were at a restaurant the other night, and people come up and wanted to take some pictures of me. So I took some pictures and everything. And I told her, I said, I think I'm going to start going to Walmart and just walking up to random people and say, hey, will you take a picture with me? See how they react.
yeah.
But anyway, it's blessed. It's a blessed life.
Just going back to WWF, obviously WrestleMania 4, you just said the Battle Royal Survivor Series, 88, you're part of as well. Big team, the Beefcake Ultimate Warrior team together. The WWF run, did you ever expect more? Was you ever promised more by Vince? Because you always hear
Yeah, I was
stories of Vince
promised. Yeah, I
is
was promised
saying, he
everything.
promised stuff.
Yeah, I was promised everything. They said, "Oh, we're going to give you 3 months off to go home," and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I got promised everything, and they didn't come through on it. So WCW, called me up and said, "Hey, we got some work." I was like, "Okay, give me a shot." Went down to WCW, and then I ran into personal issues after that. My separation and split with my wife and everything, and I just went over the edge. It was too much, and I guess overload, and I was off to the races. Just couldn't handle it. Couldn't hang.
What were some of the promises WB as far as like were you going to get a push? Were
I was
you
going to get a
supposed to get a
push. I was
title?
going to get a merchandising contract with the action figures, the T-shirts, everything. But I was going to. I'd been promised that they were going to push me, but which look, the guy, gosh, he's built one of the most successful companies, in the universe, I guess, or in the world, and so he can make the rules, whatever rules he wants to make. What he's trying to do is keep his talent happy so he can get the most out of them. So you know,
Ever ever a promise of like intercontinental title or anything like that or no?
oh, I don't need promises like that. Cool. The belts are cool and everything, fun to have and stuff like that. But really, it's not needed. You know, I look the other night when I was wrestling in Mountain City, Tennessee. Okay, the building was sold out, and I was what the fifth or sixth, seventh match on the card. Uh, and it was a lot of the young guys and stuff. But they came to the seminar and they kept it to wrestling, which I was proud to see of that. And there was a lot of stuff going on, but the pop of the night, the loudest pop of the night was when I turned over. The guy put
Really?
me in a figure four leg lock, and then when I was able to reverse it, boom, it was a big explosion. That was the biggest pop of the night. It's that easy. I don't have to have, how much a title weighs? I got some replicas here. Here's I got a replica AWA title.
Oh,
I
nice.
won this. My grandmother kept, her and Jimmy Garvin were just going at it, and my grandmother Sarah was a nut. Anyway, they were busy, and I was sliding over, and I just walked up behind Jimmy Garvin and schoolboyed him, and won that for a month. He won it back at the next show in Sumter. But my yeah, I don't know. You don't need that. That weighs 15 pounds. I don't want to carry that everywhere. Yeah, I'll be careful. Bill Apter gave me his one of his paper ones that he has when he does his seminars and stuff. He put me in the figure four leg lock. He put me in the figure four leg lock too, and I was able to get out whatever. Anyway, so I won the belt. Well, I'd rather take Bill Apter's paper title because instead of one of these. I mean, these are cool to take pictures with, but they're heavy. If you got to carry it.
Of course, yes. How come no like figure deal? How come no merchandise? Because you were there for a few years. So how come that never came to fruition for WWF?
No, I was there like four and a half years, almost 4.5 years, and never got approached. Then I got told by Vince after, oh, when you come back, you got to give you 3 months off. You'll come back. We'll bring you in strong. Boom, get a big push. This, that, and the other. We'll do the merchandising. You'll get because Jake had done well. I think Jake's first payoff on the figures or the one of them was almost $90,000. It's like wow, I want to be making part of that too. But I was off. I was told I would get it, but I never did. So
Man, that's just one of those things that stinks because that era is like when Vince was like the marketing and licensing was really coming huge in that point
yeah,
in time.
yeah, and I like sitting back now. I'm kind of glad I didn't because now if I want to do something, I can. You know, and
Yeah.
I've been looking at these things. Greg Gagne and them offered me a deal for their action figure company, and the the percentage wasn't great. I mean, they went up to 39%. I think the only one that got higher than or that was Stan Hansen. Um, but I'm not really sure. But I know what they offered me, and uh, they wanted the rights to my name, and that's something I wouldn't sign over. Um, I look at my rights, I guess, differently than everybody else. But nobody's going to tell me what really ticked to me. No matter what I thought, they could somebody me to cease and desist, and I would have to listen to them and do whatever they said. And I ain't
Right.
doing that. You know, I stood accountable for my bad stuff. I did my time in prison for DUIs. I came through on the other side. I've got almost 15 years without a drink. I mean, I'm doing good. I'm blessed. I don't miss it. I don't need to go to meetings all the time. I just don't drink. You know, it doesn't bother me if other people do. I just know that I don't.
That is amazing to kind of have all that negative and be able to get up and move forward, like you said before, and just keep moving forward. Because man, that's it's rough going
But
at it. Even jail time, it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, dude, I was in the worst place, worst of the worst. After I got my time, and they told me 10 years. Man, when a judge says that, you're going down. And then, oh gosh, well, let's see. When I first got remanded, uh, I went to court to pay a ticket for improper lane change, and they hit me with they threw that charge out and hit me with fourth offense DWI. And I told the district attorney, I said, I've never had a third offense DWI. And he said, if I have to redo the paperwork, he goes, I'm going to hit you with the Habitual Offender Act and put you down for all day, which means the rest of your life. He said, or You sign off on the fourth offense. He said, we'll give you 10 years. You'll serve half of it. And you'll be on parole the other half. He said, if you fight it in court, we're going to give you 30 years flat. And that's the decision. That's what they told me. Then they remanded me to Murderers Row in East Baton Rouge Parish jail there by the airport, and put me on Murderers Row. Like I said, I was on a row with 39 of the most the the worst people you could be with. Murderers. One guy, my cellie, shot a guy 3 times and poured gas on him, lit him on fire, but the fella survived long enough to make to do a tape deposition. So this guy, I was in there with some pretty bad stuff. And when I walked in there, when they put me in there, they had me chained up. They took the chains off of me, and this old black man came up and he said, "My name's Matthews." He goes, "I killed 3 white women. What'd you do?" I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, "Improper lane change." They were like kind of like
Yeah.
backed off away, and maybe that's that my size and everything else helped me. But and thank you, Dean Malenko, for I would ankle pick people and put them in a Texas clover leaf when the bad stuff started happening. But I was there for gosh till I got my time, and then when they shipped me to a maximum security disciplinary camp, which is the worst of the worst of the worst. You're in there with the people that can't keep it right in prison, that are they're and you're in a dorm setting. There, it was I don't know, like Thunderdome every night, 2 to 5 fights a night in the dorm every night. I'd been there 7 8 months, and then I got in a pretty big one, and I whipped some boys, and the warden found out who I was, or found out. Had me come in and talk to me. He said, "You shouldn't." He said, your probation parole must hate you." He said, "You shouldn't be here." He said, "You've never been anything but a model prisoner." And then he sent me to J. Levy Dabadie, which was the only Class A trustee camp in the state, meaning that you could go outside the fence and work for the parish or whatever. I worked on the road crew for 7 months, and then on the Air Force Base, cutting, running a John Deere tractor, cutting down firing ranges. That's
Whoa.
scary.
Whoa. Yeah. Intense.
Yeah, yeah. You're sitting there, you're wearing a prison jumpsuit, and you're out there on a John Deere tractor cutting down bush hogging firing ranges, and then people
Man.
got live ammunition. So
Yeah.
just but I worked really hard in everything I did, and it got me benefits. I was able to get a cup of coffee sometimes when I wanted to. It was rough. It was hard. It was bad. But I made it through. You know, and I made it through a lot because I kept our Creator. I kept Yahweh. I kept my God in my heart by my side. I made a promise. Let me go back to they put me in there into the place. Well, I've been there 2 days and I hadn't got just no rest, no everything was just tearing me apart. It's so loud. People MF this, you heard me. Oh, I hate that. Anyway, after 2 days of that, they're telling me 10 years. I couldn't take it, so I took my sheet and I slid it up and I braided it together and I made 2 nooses. Now I tie knots offshore and stuff on oil platforms and stuff. I know how to tie a knot. Made 2 nooses. I wrapped them around the bars. I got on the top rack. I put the nooses on my neck. I was in a crouched position. I knew I had to jump out as hard as I could, and that would snap my neck because I didn't have very far to fall. It was only 5.5 feet or so. And I got up there and I said, "God, only you can stop this now." And I jumped. And when I hit the ground with such force The soles of my feet were bruised for weeks. Both nooses broke. They didn't tear, they didn't rip. They broke, they failed. I carry part of the one of the sheet in my Bible now. Um, I dropped to my knees and I promised God I'd never try to hurt myself again.
Wow.
5 days later, the guards came and they chained me up and they took me to the chaplain. They opened the door. The chaplain said, "Your mom's dead. You can use the phone." Picked up the phone and made arrangements to make it to the funeral. I made it there in chains and an orange, but I made it. You know,
Wow.
and I got back that day and I dropped to my knees. Now I hadn't drank since August, and it's January now because I knew I had a problem. I dropped to my knees that night or that day, and I promised God I wouldn't drink again. And that's a promise that I'm glad to say I've kept. And my advice is, to everybody is out there. There comes a point in time in your life when you got to stand up. You got to draw a line in the sand. You got to step across that line, and you got to say, "I ain't going back." You know, you got to believe in something. We're better than all of this. Um, we can go on. We need help. And in Scripture it tells me I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And that means that doesn't mean I can do a little bit here and a little bit. That means I can do whatever I set my mind to. I can do
Love it.
all things. That's what I try to do. You know, and I
Well,
want people. My big message to people, you know, I'm not going to try to tell people. I'm not going to try to shove anything down anybody's throat. But what I want you to do is realize there's something more to you. I mean, more than you. There's a force bigger than you that controls. You know, have a personal relationship with our Creator. Be saved. I want to see everybody in heaven. We're not. I won't. You know, but I'd like to, and that would be the most precious thing I could offer anybody out there would be eternal life, and I'd like you to pursue it. Just check it out. You can do it at your own pace. But just get to know your Creator and ask Him.
absolutely. As we hit the wind down here, head towards the finish, just got to ask, what's the favorite territory you ever worked in? What's like when you look back, what's your favorite?
Oh gosh, I really okay. I love the Carolinas. I love Florida. I loved Louisiana. Oh gosh, uh, because all of them are home to me. You know, my grandmother, that part of us were from the Carolinas. My dad traveled all the territories, but the territories like Portland and Vancouver and Washington, out in California when we were there, that's not where we stayed at or were more localized. But I really, gosh, my I would have to say going home and being accepted in Mid South or UWF. That was really cool. But then coming back here to the Carolinas after all this time and living where I'm living now and bringing the joy that I can to the people I meet just on the street. I showed a woman at Lowe's the other day, made her real happy. Now she knows that she can do backward jumping jacks too.
Wow, jeez.
You know, Well, if somebody's having a bad day, I go and I say, look, if you're having a bad day, know in your heart, just know that you can do something that a lot of people out that don't know they can. And they say, what is that? And then you tell them backward jumping jacks. Well, they've never heard of it. So you turn around
Yeah.
backwards, rip off 3 jumping jacks. Usually they smile and everything else, and you walk on, and you just made somebody's day.
Anywhere where everybody can follow you as far as social media.
On social media, the best way follow me at Sam Houston on Facebook. Let's see, Sam Houston Fan Nation. If people want to listen to something that hope makes their day up, give them a little something encouragement. Go to YouTube, type in the word salvation and Sam Houston. Give me 3 minutes to listen to my song. Tell me what you think. I sure would appreciate that, and hopefully it help you with what's going on in your life today.